Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. We have another weekly recap for you. We had a lot happen in the last week. Starting with the NFL, the preseason continues. We had a couple of unfortunate injuries. Aaron Stinney, who was competing for the starting left guard spot for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their starting left guard from last year, who played very well for them. Alex Kappa signed with the Cincinnati Bengals during the offseason. Their other guard, who was their right guard, Ali Markbit, he retired, which is also a loss because he believed he was a Pro Bowler last year. They did acquire Shaq Mason from the New England Patriots, who's a really good player, a bit of a steal and underrated move. Of course, he knows Tom Brady from their time in New England together. He's a really good player. So they filled the right guard spot, but the left guard spot that was left open by Alex Kappa, they didn't quite fill it. They didn't make one move like they did with the Shaq Mason move on the right side. Then we knew that's the guy. So they had a couple guys competing for that. And one of the guys, Aaron Stinney, a young guy who was competing for that, he hurt his knee in the preseason game last night, and it appears it's probably a torn MCL, ACL. So that looks like a lengthy injury. Could easily be season ending, unfortunately. So it's an unfortunate break for the Bucs, and an unfortunate break for Aaron Stinney, who was a young offensive lineman who had a chance to block for Tom Brady in his first year as a starter in the NFL. So that's a shame. Another unfortunate injury for another young player, a third-round rookie, actually a quarterback, Matt Corral, suffered a Lisfranc injury in the Carolina Panthers preseason game, and head coach Matt Rule said that will probably be his ending. He was not going to start. We had news break a few days ago that the Carolina Panthers have named Baker Mayfield their starting quarterback. He beat out Sam Darnold for the starting job. Of course, Baker had a very messy end to his career in Cleveland. One overall pick hasn't quite lived up to expectations, though has shown some brilliance. His rookie year, he threw 27 touchdowns. At the time, was a rookie record until Justin Herbert broke it 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, when the Browns were in the playoffs, he did play very well down the stretch that year. Wasn't great in the first half of that season, but the second half of that season did play well. But his other couple of years in the league, he has not played very well. His second year in the league, he did not play well. And did not play well last year. Was battling through some injuries, but also he did have some good players on his team. He has some good weapons. He ran OBJ out of town, and it looked like OBJ may have been the problem. But he goes to the Rams and looks like an MVP. So clear to me, Baker was the problem there in that scenario. But he will start over Sam Darnold, which is the right move. I know Darnold's got a big cap this year, and they're only paying Baker like four point something million because Cleveland's paying the rest of his salary, and they give up only a fifth-round pick in like 2 years from now to get him. And Darnold, they give up like 3 draft picks last year to get him. But Baker is simply a better player. Sam Darnold is horrible, complete bust, another miss at the top of the draft at the quarterback position by the New York Jets, who, of course, originally drafted him. But Baker is definitely the better quarterback. I'm not a fan of him at all. I don't really think he's that good. I think he's about an average starter at best, and he was drafted to be a lot more than that, so it's a shame he couldn't live up to expectations. You never know. He is still pretty young, but I just don't see it, especially in Carolina. Carolina's not a very good team. But that was the right choice. They did make the right choice. But Matt Corral drafted him in the third round. They realized last year, Sam's not the answer. They thought, getting him a fresh start after the disaster he had in New York would help him out. And it didn't work. He was horrible. I know Christian McCaffrey was out most of the season, again. But he also had 2 very good receivers, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. And Robbie Anderson's a guy who we, had a lot of chemistry with because they played together with the Jets, and Robbie Anderson actually played well for the Jets, considering his quarterback was Sam Darnold and was playing for the freaking Jets. I'm a Jet fan, I can admit, they suck. And he still went out there and played like crap, and of course couldn't stay on the field. He had the shoulder problem. And maybe it's like, all right, Baker is in the last year of his contract. We give up nothing for him. We're not paying him a lot. They're paying him not even $5 million. if he goes out there and plays well, and we want to bring some long term possibly, or maybe you want to bring him back for another year or two, they'll work that out. But if he goes out there and struggles, and they don't think they should keep him beyond this season, they can let him go without any troubles. But they want to have a contingency plan, so they took this kid Corral at USC in the third round, hoping that maybe in a year or two he could be ready to be their starting quarterback. But that's a tough start to his career. He'll probably be out for the rest of the season. Lisfranc injury. Cam Newton in 2019, that was a foot injury that he suffered in the very beginning of the season. It was his last year before he went to the New England Patriots, and of course made his way back to Carolina last year. That was a foot injury he suffered that cost him all but 2 games that year. So Corral could easily be done for the year. So that's unfortunate. As for quarterback competitions, we have another one in Seattle. It appears that Geno Smith is in the lead there. That's a confusing one. Obviously, the Seahawks trade one of the league's best starters and one of the greatest players in the history of the Seattle Seahawks franchise. Responsible for the Super Bowl championship. Russell Wilson traded him to the Denver Broncos. During the offseason, they got back 3 first-round draft picks, also got back 3 players, tight end Noah Fant, to get back defensive lineman Shelby Harris. They also got back quarterback Drew Lock, a former second-round draft pick by the Broncos, who has been a complete disappointment so far. He flashed his rookie year, played like 5 games at the end of the year, was okay, showed that he deserved a shot to be the starter in 2020, which he was, and he was terrible. And then last year, couldn't even be out Teddy Bridgewater in training camp for the starting job. Did start the last couple of games of the season when Teddy Bridgewater got hurt, but didn't show much of anything. So Seattle picked him up on the trade from Denver. And I thought they would start Drew Lock. I mean, I think he's a lost cause. He's weird. It's a kid that I liked coming out of Missouri. I thought he had a really strong arm. I really liked his arm strength coming out of Missouri. I thought he went a lot later in the draft than I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to be at least in the first half of the first round that year. Ended up going in somewhere in the first 10 picks of the second round. So I thought that was a steal by Denver. I thought he had a chance to be a franchise quarterback, and I was definitely wrong on that one because he was not good at all. But and Geno Smith, I'm a Jet fan. I watched him play quarterback for the Jets for a few years. He's horrible. The guy's arm strength is terrible. He can't throw the ball more than 8 or 10 yards down the field. His accuracy is not blowing you away. He's a turnover machine. He was a complete bust. Just drafted in the second round. Because obviously Mark Sanchez was just not it. And then Sanchez got hurt in preseason, so they had to start Geno. And he started for a couple of years. He was terrible. After about 2 or 3 years, they're like, all right, this guy sucks. And he's been a backup for a couple of years now. He's bounced around. He was with the Giants for a year. Of course, he started that one game when they benched Eli Manning for no reason, and which cost head coach Ben McAdoo, who made the decision his job. He was in, I think, with the Chargers for a year or two. He's been with Seattle for a couple of years. And interesting, maybe Pete Carroll thinks he hasn't loved what he's seen from Drew Lock in training camp. I mean, Denver didn't really like what I saw from him in training camp last year either, clearly. And he's a guy who had been there for 2 years. They thought would be the future, and they started Teddy Bridgewater over him for crying out loud. Geno Smith's not very good. He's been there a couple of years. He knows the offense, better than Drew Lock has. Maybe Lock's is struggling to adjust to the new offense. Pete Carroll does like conservative quarterback. He loves to run the football. Obviously, when they were at the top of their game, when they were winning their Super Bowl, and of course almost had a second, they had Marshawn Lynch, who was an incredible running back, and they love to run the football. And with Geno, he's a very conservative quarterback. He's not going to push the ball down the field. He's going to keep his throws short. And they're going to have to run the ball a lot. And that's why they have a bunch of running backs now. You got Rashad Penny if he's healthy, Played well at the end of the year last year when he was healthy. You draft Kenneth Walker in the second round of Michigan State. He'd suffered an injury, but he should be ready for week 1. If not, he'll even be ready by at least week 2 or 3. You have some other backs there like Travis Homer and DJ Dallas. So maybe Pete Carroll thinks the best fit for our offense is Geno Smith. Who knows? Maybe think, you know what? Let's just throw Geno out there and suck and try to get a high draft pick and draft someone else next year, because I think it's pretty clear that neither guy is the answer. Drew Lock definitely isn't. He's a lost cause. Geno Smith for sure isn't. He's a mediocre backup at best at this point. But Geno Smith clearly isn't leading the quarterback competition. Drew Lock is out with COVID right now, so he didn't even play in the second preseason game. So that was definitely a leg up in the competition for Geno. Drew Lock's in the same thing he was last year. They brought in Teddy Bridgewater, who was a guy who had started a bunch of games in the NFL. Was pretty mediocre, obviously, in the beginning of his career with Minnesota. Was looking like something special, and he had that major knee injury. Missed almost 2 years. And then he was with the Saints for a bit. In place of the injured Drew Brees a couple of years ago, played well. Also obviously learned a lot from Drew Brees. Looked like he was ready to be a real good starting quarterback again. He got that big deal from Carolina, and he went out there and was very mediocre. Then Denver brought him in to compete with Drew Lock, and he beat out Drew Lock. And he went out there, was okay last year, nothing special. Denver, let him walk after the season. He's now a backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. And Drew Lock, once again, after when he got his chance, he blew it. But they brought in Teddy Bridgewater to compete with him, and he blew his chance again. He lost that competition to Teddy Bridgewater. Then gets shipped off to Seattle, looking like a fresh start. But then he realizes, it's Geno Smith, who's horrible and is barely going to be not good enough. He's barely good enough to be a backup at this point in his career. He was never a good starter, not a good starter at all to begin with. A terrible quarterback. Apparently, Seattle likes him because he knows the offense better than Drew Lock does, and he's very conservative. And Pete Carroll likes those kind of quarterbacks. Like, he likes to run the football. And now it looks like Geno Smith might be beating him out. He's going to be the guy to beat him out this year. So tough break for Drew Lock, but he's not very good either. They both suck. I'm not sure if you guys heard, but the Amazon, who of course is going to be broadcasting a bunch of Thursday night football games this year, they came out with their new theme song. Of course, every network has their theme song. CBS has theirs, Fox has theirs, ESPN has theirs, and now Amazon is going to be doing Thursday night football. Of course, Al Michaels will be working those games along with Kirk Herbstreit. Of course, the big-time college guy who's now working for Amazon. And we'll be doing Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels. They have a new theme song. I thought it was pretty good. I've heard some mixed reviews. Some people thought it was kind of dumb. Some people liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I liked the intro video they had with the band playing. They showed some highlights. I thought it was pretty cool. We had a young player making some waves at Dallas Cowboys preseason game. A guy who I had never heard of until I saw his highlights, and a lot of people probably have never heard of him. He's but he goes by the name of Kevontae Turpin. He had 2 return touchdowns in the game against the Chargers. Earlier in the game, he had a 98-yard kickoff return touchdown, and a little bit later, he returned a punt 86 yards for a touchdown. He was in USFL last year. Was very good. Dallas brought him in. I think maybe he could return some kicks for us and possibly be a game changer as a returner. And so far, he's making his mark. He had 2 very lengthy return touchdowns in not even in one game, in one half of the game. Those both happened in the first half. Obviously having kick returns aren't super important, obviously. But if you could have a guy who can get you 25, 30 yards as a returner, in your offense, instead of starting inside your own 20, inside your own 25, now you're up past the 30, 35-yard line. That's an advantage. It's definitely an advantage to have a good, really good kick returner. So if he can be that for Dallas, that could be maybe a little secret weapon for them. So Kevontae Turpin definitely is turning some heads. The next thing I want to talk about briefly is a very interesting one. The story probably would have been a little bit more of a talking subject if we didn't get some news recently that he's going to be returning to Buccaneers practice probably tomorrow. But Tom Brady, for the last 2 weeks or so, has been absent from Bucs camp and Bucs preseason, supposedly handling personal matters, something that the Bucs knew was going to happen heading into this year. Brady told him ahead of time he was going to need to take some time off for some personal reasons. He's been away from camp for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. That being said, apparently he's returning very soon, probably returning to practice tomorrow. So that's the story coming to an end. There were a bunch of conspiracy theories online. I heard one crazy conspiracy theory saying that Tom Brady, the reason that he's away from the Bucs, because the whole thing was like the Bucs weren't saying why. They could have said oh he's a little bit nicked up, he'll be fine, but we just don't want to take any chances, so we're not even going to have him practice or do any football activities for about 2 weeks, and then prior to the last week of preseason he'll come back and he'll practice, and then he'll get ready for week one. And they said personal reasons, but they were very vague about it. It kind of came out of nowhere. A lot of times when the guy is absent because of personal reasons, you may not know exactly. It might be a death in the family. Maybe someone in their family is sick, so they want to spend some time with them. Maybe their significant other is maybe they're having a child. Birth of their child, so maybe they go away from the team for a few days. But we heard nothing. I don't think Giselle's having a little baby. The guy hadn't had an opportunity to spend time with his family when he supposedly retired this offseason, then 40 days later came back. So who knows? Maybe he just wants some family time, and he thinks out at this point I don't really need to play in the preseason, so I'll just take a break. Maybe the Bucs want some young players to get some time to shine, and while Tom Brady just being in the building, possibly overshadowing them, so I sent them away. The one crazy conspiracy theory that I'm talking about is I heard one that he was actually getting ready to appear on The Masked Singer, the TV show on Fox. The Masked Singer, some people like it. I think the show is kind of stupid. It's this TV show on Fox where it's these people. They go on. It's kind of similar to like America's Got Talent. I think Ken Jeong was a famous actor comedian. He's like one of like the judges or whatever you want to call them on the show. And they go on the show. They dress up in these crazy costumes and they sing a song. But you don't know who it is. A lot of people thought that might have been it because talking to some of his teammates, like they asked their teammates about it because the conspiracy theory came about. They said, "Oh yeah, that's definitely something that he would do." Obviously, they weren't saying he was good. He's doing it because obviously he's not doing it. But like they were kind of like part joking, part like knowing Tom, that's like he would definitely do something like that. He definitely has that kind of personality and things like that. Also, like he was taking this long break right before the season. Right when the Masked Singer was an episode was set to go on air or something like that. The show is on Fox, and of course he signed that big contract with Fox. That's going to kick in once he retires. He will become an analyst for Fox. A 10-year deal with $375 million. Once he retires, that contract will be official, and he'll work for Fox as an analyst for the NFL. So he's got the connection. Antonio Brown, who he played with. Of course, he played with briefly, from former teammate of his in New England, very briefly in New England. Was in New England for about 2 weeks and was with Tampa for a while. For he had basically rage quit at the end of the year last year. He appeared on it. Rob Gronkowski, of course, his longtime teammate, maybe one of the best players who's he's ever played with, and of course they're very close friends. He appeared on the show too. So that was a crazy conspiracy theory. That was kind of funny. Now, the last bit of news that I have for the NFL before we move on, I'm going to mention something that happened in hockey briefly, and then we'll move on to MLB. Deshaun Watson, his suspension, which was originally 6 games, which of course was pathetic, 24, 25, whatever the number is at this point. Allegations of sexual misconduct, only 6 games. That's ridiculous. So the NFL appealed it. They said they wanted to give him they originally said they wanted to give him a full year and a hefty fine. What ended up happening is they gave him an 11-game suspension and fined him $5 million. Okay, I just don't understand. So the NFL was so pissed off him only getting 6 games, and rightfully so. I would be pissed off too. 6 games for what he did, that's ridiculous. I mean, you can't give Calvin Ridley, who legally bet on his team while he was away from the team battling mental health problems, a full year and give Deshaun Watson half of that. That's ridiculous. Watson was accused by 24 different women of some sort of sexual misconduct. All of them are all massage therapists. They all basically have the same story. Give him half of what Calvin Ridley got. That's disgusting. That's just wrong. So they wanted a full year, which I think is very appropriate. I don't think the guy should be allowed back in the league. I would have given him at least 2 years, but I don't work for the NFL, so obviously I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. So it looked like justice was going to be served. I mean, usually the NFL, they rarely appeal these suspensions that, now they have whatever person, that they appoint to make the decision, and Sue Robinson was the woman who made the decision. And they very rarely appeal, and they appeal. So they clearly were very unhappy, and they were dead set on giving him a year. And I guess they settled with him. I know there were some rumors Deshaun Watson, he was willing to accept suspension, maybe 12 games, and maybe fine $10 million, maybe like an 8-game suspension, and they fine him $5 or $10 million. He was doing anything possible to not get a full season. And the NFL ended up deciding to give him an 11-game suspension and fine him $5 million. Who cares about the fine? He just signed a $230 million fully guaranteed deal with the Cleveland Browns, and his contract with the Houston Texans, which kicked in last year. He lost a bunch of money last year because he didn't report to training camp, and he was a healthy scratch the whole season because of the allegations, and he didn't want to play there. Was for 100 and I believe it was 156 million, something like that. So something like that, and it was like $39 million a year, something crazy like that. So the $5 million for him is nothing. And 11 games. First of all, he should have gotten a year. What happened to that? And also, not only is 11 kind of a weird number, why not just do 10 or 12? Why exactly 11? Kind of where did the number come from? It's kind of odd. I find it really, really odd that his first game back is against the Houston Texans. What I'm about to say just sounds absolutely horrifying. And I hope this is not the thought process that went through the NFL's head. But to me, it seems way too convenient and coincidental. The NFL just happened to, decide to settle with this guy. I know he was trying to sue the NFL a while back if he got a full year. But first of all, the NFL is the best lawyers in the world. Let him sue. I understand they just want this thing to be over with now. This is one of the biggest scandals the league's ever had. They want this thing to be over with, and him suing league would just continue to give them something else to worry about. It would prolong it, but let him sue. They'll let him sue the league. He's not going to win. No way he's winning not against the NFL, the lawyers the NFL's going to hire to represent them in a court of law. But he happens such a weird number of 11 games, and then the first game back just happens to be against the Houston Texans. That's just, I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and make the claim that because that game, it's a good marketing strategy to have him play the Texans his first game back because of how he, of course, his exit from the Texans. But that seemed a little bit fishy that they give him such an odd number of games, 11 games. When they appealed the suspension so that he would get a full year. Not only did I not give him a full year, they gave him 11 games, which is not only less than what they said that they wanted to give him when they appealed. It's such an odd number, 11. Why not just do 10 or 12? That'll make more sense. And his first came back just happens to be against the Houston Texans. I don't know, but I was very upset with that. I thought he should have got. I think he should get 2 or 3 years. He gets less than Calvin Ridley, really? I think it's ridiculous. This was a tough one because he was found not guilty in criminal court. Most of the civil suits he has settled those, and even the ones that he hasn't settled, they haven't actually been heard yet. Obviously, in these in these massage rooms where where the possible illegal acts, by possible I mean probably very likely illegal acts took place. Obviously, isn't cameras in all these massage rooms, so it's hard to prove. But first of all, when it comes to him settling, the guy's on a $230 million contract. He can afford to give these women millions of dollars. I don't really think that should hold a lot of weight. But the decision is final, it appears. That's the NFL's decision. An 11-game suspension and a $5 million fine. Moving on, only bit of NHL news I have is the Calgary Flames surprise people. They signed Nazem Kadri to a 7-year deal worth $49 million. Kind of a real star player, had a great year last year, 20-plus goals, had over 50 points. Was great in the play. Was great in the playoffs. Of course, he went viral. He had that controversial hit in the playoffs, and he got he had fans giving him death threats, and then that next game, the Avalanche had all those towels or something on every seat that says we stay with Naz, and then we ended up getting injured. Thought he missed the rest of the postseason. Was able to come back for the Cup final. Ended up playing great in the Cup final. Had a really good postseason, and he got the big contract he wanted from Calgary Flames, who had a lot of player movement this offseason. You lose Johnny Gaudreau in free agency. He takes less money to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And then you lose Matthew Tkachuk, but you do, in that trade for Matthew Tkachuk, you do get back Jonathan Huberdeau, who's an absolutely amazing player, a guy who last year had 40 goals, had 90-plus points, maybe even had 100 points. You get an excellent young defenseman, Mackenzie Weegar, who's very good offensively. You got a prospect and a future pick. And you trade away Sean Monahan, you package him for a 2025 first-rounder so they can make room financially for Nazem Kadri. You send Sean Monahan to Montreal, and then you bring in Kadri, who's a really good player, on a 7-year deal. For $49 million, that's $7 million a year. So Calgary has recreated their team. We'll see if they're better off or worse off. Shifting to MLB. Let's take a look at the standings. American League Central, the Cleveland Guardians lead the Minnesota Twins by a game in the Central. That division is absolutely terrible. The White Sox are 3.5 out as well. The Guardians right now are in first place. As for the rest of the standings, American League East, the New York Yankees, who have been struggling. Their division lead is now down to 7 games over the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm going to talk about the Yankees very shortly. You got the Rays and Orioles are right there as well in the wild card race, and then you got The Boston Red Sox in last place. And last Astros were running away up the West, 10.5 games ahead of the Seattle Mariners. Going to National League Central, the Cardinals are red hot. They have now built a 5-game lead over the Milwaukee Brewers from National League Central. Now 17 games over 500. They have won 6 in a row. Milwaukee is slumping. Of course, they recently traded Josh Hader at the trade deadline. They are now 5 games behind the Cardinals in the National League Central. National League East, Mets are 3 games ahead of Atlanta. I'm a big Mets fan because, of course, I follow them religiously. They split a doubleheader with the Phillies yesterday. The day before, they won. So big game today. And you got the Phillies who they're playing. They're in third place, but the closest to Mets is, of course, the Atlanta Braves, who are playing very, very well right now, like they have for a while now, and they're only 3 games back. And good Lord, the Washington Nationals are now 40 games below 500. Wow, that's really bad. And the Dodgers have the best record in the MLB at 83 and 46. That is incredible. They are 18 games ahead of the Padres. Wow, that's a lot of games to be ahead. Looking at the wild card race in the American League, the first wild card in the American League is actually a tie between the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays. Or actually, no, excuse me. The first wild card is the Seattle Mariners. They're a game up for that first spot. The second spot in the wild card is the Toronto Blue Jays. And the last wild card in the American League is the Tampa Bay Rays. The Minnesota Twins are a game and a half out. Of course, only a game out of their division. The Baltimore Orioles are 2.5 games out. So they're right there. They've had a very surprising year, of course. And the White Sox are 3 games out. They're actually only 2.5 games out of the division. So I made a mistake earlier. They're 3 games out of the wild card. The White Sox only 2.5 now out of their own division. As for the National League wild card, of course, the Braves have the first wild card. They're 8.5 games ahead for that first wild card. That's all but locked up. Of course, they're only 3 games behind the Mets in the division. The second wild card, the Philadelphia Phillies, who have lost 2 of the first 3 to the Mets, but they are playing well. Half-game lead for the second wild card. The last spot in the National League playoff is the San Diego Padres. The first team out right now is the Milwaukee Brewers, who are 2 games out. They're 5 games out of the division. They are 2 games out of the wild card. That's where Milwaukee's already the only team that's going to challenge for a wild card for a team that's not already in. The next closest is the San Francisco Giants, who are 6.5 out. So that's the MLB outlook right now. We had some news, of course. We had about on my show last weekend. I reported to you guys that the Texas Rangers fired their manager, Chris Woodward, in his 4th season. The Texans continued to clean house. Team president John Daniels was fired after 17 seasons. A shocking development. He was there for 17 years. He was let go. Their owner, Ray Davis, said, "Bottom line is we're not good and we haven't been good for 6 years. To be competitive going forward, I felt that we needed to make a change." Texas is a team, and he's honestly not wrong. I believe 2015, they won the American League West. Since then, I don't think they've been to the playoff. They've been, for the most part, a below-average team. But like you said, the last 6 years or so, they've been a below-average team. They spent $556 million total on Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, and John Gray. And they're, at the time when they fired Daniels, they were 12 games below 500. Pretty much completely out of the race. And they felt the need to change. Chris Young, from MLB pitcher, who they recently hired as their general manager a couple years ago, he has been promoted to president of baseball operations, so he's running the whole show for Texas. He was named. John Daniels was named the GM of the Texas Rangers back in October of 2005. He was just 28 years old at the time. That made him the youngest GM ever in Major League history at the time. John Daniels said in the statement, somewhere along the way, this baseball fan from Queens, so he's a Queens boy, I did not know that, got an opportunity to help lead a Major League Baseball franchise in Texas. He said it's been an unbelievable experience. Owner Ray Davis talking about Chris Young, who's been their GM last couple of years now, will be the team president. Because I think Chris will come in with a new enthusiasm and be able to build an organization that we can be consistent for many years. Of course, they were in the World Series in 2010, 2011, lost both times, but did win the American League pennant in 2010 and 2011. Won the AL West back-to-back years in 2015 and 2016, but they have been a below-average team ever since 2017, and now they've been rebuilding. This is the longest streak of losing seasons in 50 years for the Texas Rangers. They would have to go 29-17 under an interim manager named Tony Beasley, we've never even heard of, to not have a losing record. That's extremely, extremely, extremely unlikely. They're going to be probably a 75-win team at best. So they're probably going to be below average again. This is a team that, remember, in 2020, which is only 60 games because of the pandemic, they were 22-38. So they were horrible that year. I don't know what pace that would have put them on, but they would have been probably at least a 90-loss team that year. Had 102 losses last year. They're going to have probably possibly 90 more plus lower losses this year. They have not been even average since they won the division in 2016. They've spent a lot of money on this payroll this past off season. These moves haven't worked out. It was just time for a change, I guess. John Daniels said he took a lot of responsibility for the team's performance over the last 6 years. He acknowledged, they just haven't been a good enough team. He's not wrong. They haven't. He says, Roy Davis said John Daniels was surprised by the decision when they met. And then after he met with Daniels, told him that he was letting him go. He told Chris Young, you're going to be promoted. He said, so I separated the two. And then did Woody then and John now. So, he told John Daniels, you're going to get, he told Chris Woodward first, I'm firing you, letting you go. And then afterwards, decided to fire the president. And of course, told Chris Young, these are the changes we're making. You're going to be getting an elevated role. Chris Young, like I said, was a ex-player. Actually, 6'10", one of the tallest players in MLB history. From Dallas. He played baseball and basketball actually at Princeton. Wow, it's an Ivy League school. Must be very smart. He pitched in the MLB for 13 years. He actually pitched for the Texas Rangers. He started back in 2004. He was on the Kansas City Royals World Series team in 2015. So we'll see what else Texas does. Of course, like I said, they spent a lot of money on this offense. They spent $325 million over 10 years to Corey Seager. They signed Marcus Semien for 7 years, $175 million, giving him a $500 million middle infield. And he gave John Gray, a veteran starting pitcher, 4 years and $56 million. Ray Davis said, I don't plan on spending as much money as we did last offseason, but we plan on spending some money. So, $556 million, that's insane. So, Pierce Texas will look to continue to bring in some more talent this offseason. John Daniels says he and his family were incredibly thankful to many people. He thanked the Texas Rangers ownership, past and present, for its opportunity in the sport they always gave him. He knows everyone he worked with, including the players, the coaches, the scout, the trainers, and staff members. He joined the organization 20 years ago as a baseball operations assistant, and of course, eventually became the general manager, and then the president of baseball operations. He thanked the fans. John Daniels said there are some spectacularly talented and driven people in the organization. From CY, referring to Chris Young, who was the GM, now he's the GM and the president throughout the operation. There are going to be amazing moments in the summers and falls again soon, and you will get the praise you deserve. So I thought it was very classy as he exited. Long tenure there. He had 2 pennants. He won a bunch of division titles. His most recent was 2016. But for the last 6 seasons, they've been a below average team. And they've been pretty much bottom feeder for the last 3 years. So, and he really, overall did a pretty good job in the last few years. Not so much. The big contract he gave Alice Andrews, didn't work out. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien have had a lot of regression from last year, until they got big contracts. Spending all that money did not pay off for Texas. So it appears that Texas obviously is going to make a lot of changes. We'll see what they do with the manager. It appears Chris Young's going to run the whole front office. Will they hire a GM to serve under him? We don't know, but John Daniels is out in Texas after 17 seasons as their president of baseball operations. Mike Trout is back for Los Angeles Angels. He was out for about a month. He had a back problem, but there's a report that said that the injury is something he's going to manage probably for the rest of his career. It's a very rare condition, but he is back. And Mets rookie Brett Beatty, one of the top prospects in all baseball, third baseman. He's looked very good. He's struggled a little bit defensively. He needs to work on his defense, but he's never really been a great defender. But he's looked very good at the plate. He's looked very comfortable. Supposedly, his a lot of the Mets teammates are been very impressed with his transition. And there's one thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the New York Yankees. The Yankees are struggling mightily. And although they are still in first place, having a 7-game lead on August 21st is still solid lead to have. I mean, they still have a good record, 73-48. So 25 games over 500. Still have the second best record in the American League. Still have the fourth best record in all of baseball. But this is a team heading into July was almost 40 games over 500. Probably was like 38 or 39 games over 500. Had the best record in baseball. Was unstoppable. They went from close to 40 games over 500 to now 25 games over 500. Their division lead, which was probably about 15 or 16 games, is now 7 games. That's a big drop off. So they've probably lost at least 7 games off their division lead. And they were closing in on 4 games over 500 in June, and now they're 25. That's it's almost 15 games off their record. That's a big drop off. They are 4-14 in August. 4-14. They have the worst record in the major since August. With their loss yesterday, I believe they are 12-25 in the last 37 games. They're 4-14 in 18 games in August. Over the last 18 games, where they've won just 4 of their last 18 games. Their OPS, which for the entire year has been among the league leaders, it's been the 5th worst, and their team ERA, which has been at pretty much the top of the league all year, it's been the 9th worst over the last 18 games. And I want to hear Yankee fans complain about their injuries. Yes, he made it past Giancarlo Stanton, got 24 home runs for a few weeks. I know you just lost Matt Carpenter, who was a huge spark. He was hitting 3 out of 5 with 15 home runs, only 128 at bats. I mean, their closer Clay Holmes out. He was an all-star, but he's been struggling. Might lose the closer job when he comes back. Don't give me Severino's out. He's been out for a while. You still have a very deep rotation, even without him, especially now that you have Frankie Montas, even with Jordan Montgomery being traded to the Cardinals. We're about Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, two of the best pitchers in baseball and of their generation for a lot of the season. Scherzer missed about 2 months. deGrom missed the first 4 months of the season, and the Mets still have a top 4 team in baseball and had one throughout all those injuries, and they've had other injuries as well. Don't give me that Don't give me that for the Yankees. They definitely need to be concerned. I think they need to get rid of Aaron Boone. I don't think he's a good manager at all. I was shocked when they kept him last year. I thought he should have been fired after the wild card loss. That team should have been in the World Series last year, and they barely even made the playoffs. Didn't even win a single freaking playoff game. They need someone tough, and Aaron Boone is too laid back for them. I know he gets fiery sometime. It just feels like, like when the Wolves are closing in, he's not getting calls and he's losing. The team's struggling, losing to a bad team. He loses his mind on the umpire and they get thrown out. And there's nothing to motivate them because they just end up losing the game anyway. And sometimes he gets a little snippy in the press conference because he's frustrated. So, he only really shows a little bit of fire when the team is struggling and he's frustrated. It's more just being frustrated that he's a bad manager than having actual that being like a tough manager, if anything. They need a spark, and the spark might be getting rid of him. We've seen four managers already get fired this year. First was the Phillies firing Joe Girardi. That was back in May. Also, I believe in May, or maybe it was June. Angels fire Joe Madden. This round, Blue Jays fire their manager Charlie Montoya earlier this summer, and of course, about a week ago, the Texas Rangers fired their manager Chris Woodward. Also seen the Detroit Tigers, of course, a little over a week ago fired their general manager Al Avila, and now the Texas Rangers just fired their team president Phil Daniels. So a lot of high-ranking MLB officials on MLB teams are getting fired. We've lost four managers and one GM and one president already, and it's still August 21st. We'll see if Aaron Boone is next, but the Yankees are showing, and they should definitely be concerned. There is no reason Atlanta that still has Aaron Judge, who's hitting .290 with 46 home runs and 100-plus RBIs. Has Gleyber Torres, who's had a great year. Has Anthony Rizzo's got 28 home runs. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's hitting .260. Jose Trevino's hitting .250, who was an all-star. Has Andrew Benintendi, who's a very good player. He struggled a little bit since coming over. Still was hitting almost .300. Should be struggling offensively. They better hope that when they get Stanton back, probably next week, starting to rehab from his Achilles injury, that gives him a spark because this team's in trouble. Moving on to some NBA action. Of course, we're still in the offseason. The New York Knicks and the Utah Jazz, after a few weeks of not talking at all about Donovan Mitchell trade, have started talking again. That means the Knicks are still turned off by the Jazz high asking price for Donovan Mitchell, but they are talking again. Kevin Durant talks have been pretty quiet. Now all of a sudden, we heard a while back the Celtics made an offer for Durant, and that's turned down. And now we're hearing that there was really no offer ever. And actually, we have someone's going to come on the speaker. I'm going to invite Neil onto the speaker, and we're going to get his thoughts. Neil, how's it going?
Jake, what's the word, man? How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, very well. What are we talking about today?
I've talked about a bunch of things. I'm talking about NBA right now with Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks and KD, but I talked about NFL and MLB, and I talked about Nazem Kadri. So we can talk about really whatever you want to talk about right now.
Nice, excellent. So you covered it all for the weekly measures, I see. So, yeah, I'm just
Yep.
watching right now the Blue Jays and the Yankees big series for the Jays and the Yankees. The Yankees have been slipping hard. I think they've been the second worst team,
Yes.
I think, since the All-Star break, and they've been just, terrible. So the Jays have managed to get 3 out of 4. It's the last game of the series today, hoping the Jays can sweep them, get to, I think it's going to be 6 games back if they win today. So things are starting to tighten up now in the AL East, and we see Tampa still winning because they have an easy matchup with KC this weekend. And then Baltimore's, starting to pick up the pace. Boston's still down at the basement, but you can't count them out. Seattle, I know they're up there in the wild card standings, but I really feel that they've played a lot of weak teams this year. Like, you look at that division that they're in, Houston's really the only competition, I would say. But, the Angels and the Oakland A's aren't the greatest, so I think that a lot of games for the Blue Jays, and obviously I'm talking on a Blue Jays bias being a fan here, that I feel like we're always constantly playing competitive teams, like whether it's even the Yankees and the Red Sox and how bad they might be right now, they're still competitive matchups, and then you have the Rays and the Orioles. The Orioles actually got the better of the Jays, so I just feel like when it gets into the wild card race, with Seattle, I just don't know if they're like really that strong of a team. I really don't feel that they are. I feel that they just have a lot of easier matchups. I'm not taking nothing away from them, but I just feel that there's better competition come from the Blue Jays. And I'm just talking about the wild card bracket. But I hope that with 6 weeks left in the Major League Baseball season, and the Jays, if they can make it 6 games back of first, they got a lot of time to try to make it to first place. I really felt that they needed to get a starter at the All-Star break. There was a proposed deal with the Angels to get Syndergaard and Iglesias. I was kind of hoping that would have happened. They would have really needed that. They don't really have another starter. They've got Stripling back now. They had a bullpen day yesterday and managed to win against the Yankees. That's why I was really excited about yesterday's win. So I don't know what your thoughts are about just kind of what we're seeing with the AL East and the wild card race in the AL specifically.
Okay, I just talked about this. The New York Yankees, they're in trouble.
Absolutely.
They need to smash the panic button over and over and over again. It's time to panic if you're the Yankees. Okay. I know that there are still 25 games over 500. They're still up 7 games. This is a team heading into July was almost 40 games over 500. Now you're 25 games over 500. That's almost a 15 game drop off from 38 or 39 games over 500, whatever it was, to 25 games over 500. That's a big drop off. And I know they're up 7 games right now on Toronto, but at one point it was like 15 or 16 games. They've lost like 8 or 9 games in their division. That's a big
Right.
drop off. I could see them
Absolutely.
coming back down to earth a little bit, going from like maybe the best regular season team ever to just to just like one of the best teams this year, winning 100 game, but not quite that level. But this is like a whole nother level of drop off. And since August, they're 4-14 in August. That is
I
the
know.
worst mark in the majors. Their
Here's another
OPS
underlying
is fifth
factor.
worst.
Here's another
What's
fun
that?
fact. They haven't won 2 games in a row all month.
Wow, they haven't won 2 games in a row all month. Like the team is falling apart. And don't give me they have injuries. The Mets were about two of the best starting pitchers of this generation, and still a top 4 team in baseball, and stayed in first place despite the Braves being maybe the best team in baseball over that
Right.
span. Yeah,
I
yes,
agree.
Stanton's out. I know Carpenter was a spark for them, and he's out. Like, don't give me Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes has been falling apart. He probably won't be the closer when he comes back. Don't give
Right.
me Luis Severino. They have a really deep rotation. He's their third best starter at best, Luis Severino. They
Right.
still have a line with Aaron Judge hitting 290 with 46 and 102.
Right.
Rizzo's got 28 bombs. Kenneth
Stanton
Lepa's
out.
been good.
Right.
Yeah, Kenneth Lepa's been good. Trevino's been good. And Ben Tenney is a good hitter. Like they don't have an excuse for why they're this bad. Their OPS should not be fifth worst in baseball since August.
Absolutely. And they
Their
do
ERA.
have, I was going to say quickly, they do have an injury to Stanton. And another
Yeah,
quick point I was going to say is that I don't know when he's coming back, but that is a significant piece.
probably next week.
Yeah,
Probably
right.
another week.
So
He's
that should
starting to
probably
rehab.
give them some light at the end of the tunnel. Well, I don't know if that empowers them, but that is a big piece. And I was going to say, if they do lose today, and 2 quick things I'm going to say, and then I'll let you jump back in. I basically was just going to say that it doesn't get any easier for the Yankees because they play New York Mets next, and I think the Mets can beat them up. And I really like the Mets' chances now with DeGrom
Yeah,
back in rotation, Scherzer back. Bassett's there. You got Taijuan Walker. You got Stroman. They got a deadly rotation, and
well,
you even have
they don't got Sherman anymore. Thank goodness. He's on the Cubs now.
Oh, sorry, Scherzer went to the Cubs.
No, did you just say Sherman?
No, I did mention Stroman. So someone got traded to the Cubs. I did not realize that, as a matter
He
of
was
fact.
he signed for agency. They were tired of his big mouth. They let him go, and now he sucks.
Oh wow, I did not realize that. Okay, so I wasn't paying much attention to him. Obviously, he's a former Blue Jay, so the last I remember he was there.
That's
And so
right.
minus him out of there. But yeah, I mean, even if you're looking at a playoff rotation, even if you have just DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett, I really like that. Taijuan Walker is a pretty good pitcher as well. I'm just basically just saying, like, I think that if anything, the Mets have things, going in their favor now a little bit, getting healthy and getting ready for a playoff run. And I think the Yankees are in trouble with that. And just to quickly say, you're talking about how fast of a drop off the Yankees have had, right? And I was actually
Yeah.
in a bar. I think it was in like June or July. A friend of mine, she owns a bar or whatever, and I just went to go see her. I don't actually drink or nothing. I was just chilling there, and this dude had a conversation with me, and he was like, adamant about the fact that he felt the Yankees were cheating or doing something suspect because they
Mhm.
had been like, such like what was it like you said, almost 40 games above 500 at that point, and so it looked like they weren't going to slip like this. And I think that it's crazy to see it, but I think it's good to see it. And I would love to see them slip out of first place and into a wild card. What do you think? You think that that's possible, or what do you think that the
I think
Yankees end
it's.
up doing?
I think. It's extremely possible. I could even see them in out of first place by September. I think
Yeah,
that's how bad the team they can't play right now. The team is right now is playing terrible. They have the ninth worst ERA in the league. They have the fifth worst OPS in the league since August.
that's
They've won
brutal.
four games in August. By the way, Aaron Boone is a joke. He is a complete joke. He
Right.
is horrible. Does not fit that team. This Yankees team needs someone fiery. He is not that. I know you see him get fiery sometimes, but it just seems like he just gets frustrated that he sucks as a manager. That's
You
not
think
team
it's too
fired. That's
late to
the,
make a move with management like what the Blue Jays did? Like the Blue Jays kind of alerted themselves to a situation that they had with their manager. They got rid of him. I thought it was a good, timely move to do that at the
I
time they
I
did.
mean
You think the
I don't
Yankees?
know who's on their staff. If they have a fiery guy who the team likes and believes in on their staff, then I think that Aaron Boone should be fired right now and promote that guy. If
Right.
they don't have, if they're just going to promote someone else who's the same style as Boone, that doesn't do anything. That's not going to
Yeah.
help. So
No.
it depends who they have on their staff.
Yeah, I agree. I feel it's too late now. I think the Yankees brass would probably feel it is too. That they probably will just stick with him, and it's dicey because, like you said, I think he is the one who might be responsible for all of this, and obviously they need the fresh wave of like a fresh air wave to go through that clubhouse and basically get back on track. And it starts there. I think, like I say, the Blue Jays had done that, and I like the new manager. He's a more of a hit and run type
Hmm.
player. He's got them stealing more. He's got them playing more heads up baseball, keeping the opposing pitchers on the toes. And I don't like the way they're doing the lineup though. I feel that's what the Blue Jays' Achilles heel is. They don't really know what they're doing with their lineup. I don't feel Bo Bichette should be hitting fifth. I know his average is down a little bit lower, but when I
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
the
I
Yankees,
agree. He's very good. He should be hitting like second or third.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. Honestly, people might think that I'm crazy, but I would go. I would even lead off with Bichette and put Springer third. I know Springer right now is a great leadoff guy, but I feel he's got to hit next to Guerrero. I know that Guerrero's number two. I am okay with that too, but with the injury right now, that it looks like Springer's got a knee issue. Apparently, he was down in the dugout and out in the field today trying to stretch out his injury, whatever. But it's not happening, so he's not playing today. But I just think that they could do better with the lineup, and I think that they could go like they have put Springer at third before, and it's worked for them. And when you talk about the Yankees, I think that when you get Stanton back, that could possibly change things for them offensively, like a bit more of a spark.
Yeah, it's weird. Like heading into that Met series when the Mets swept them in the 2 game series,
Right,
they were slowing down a bit, but like that kind of slowing down that I think was kind of inevitable because of just how hot they were. Like eventually they were going to kind of run out of gas, and they were going to go 120 and 42.
right,
But something happened. Something happened in that Mets series. It's funny because Stanton was placed on the IL prior to that series, so I'm
right,
not sure. Like, if I mean, Stanton's very good. He's got 24 home runs from like 60 RBIs. He's also hitting like 228, and he's not going to light anyone. He's not lighting the world on fire on defense. Not at this point in his career, especially playing left field opposed to right field because they have Aaron Judge and just so many different outfielders over there. But
right.
something happened in that Met series. I'm not sure if they were just so hurt that they are New York counterparts, who of course are when you compare just the organizations are a lot worse than them. Of course, team wise, I think the Mets are better than the Yankees this year. Organization wise, obviously the Yankees are much more successful than the Mets. So maybe they're really like butthurt that they got swept by them. And it sapped their confidence, and then obviously you lose Stan, and then you lose a couple other guys, and just the Aaron Boone cycle, early in the year, he looks like a genius. They're winning a lot. And then eventually, just when the going gets tough, he falls apart.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely. I saw the post game interviews with
today's
him. He
can
doesn't look.
change.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
absolutely right. I saw his
his post
post game
game interviews
last
are
night.
so annoying.
Yeah,
Oh,
he looked very out of sorts in the post games, and
He did.
I think you're absolutely right. It is the call is probably to fall on him, but I feel like the Yankees might feel like, in my gut, I feel they may feel it's too close to the playoffs to do such a type of move, but you never know. I was going to ask you quickly. I missed that Stroman thing. Did that happen before the All Star break, or sorry, or after the trade deadline, or before it, or when did that happen?
That was in the offseason. He was a free agent and he was running his mouth a lot, So
Oh, my
so the Mets
bad. I
went
missed that. Wow. Okay,
so the
so that
Met
happened in the offseason.
so the
Okay.
Mets went out and they signed Scherzer and they went and got Bassett.
Oh,
He had a
that's
big mouth.
okay. My
He was
bad.
being classy, so then they let him go.
Oh, wow. Okay, how's Stroman been doing? I guess that's probably why he's not on my
He's
list.
not having a good year. He's a year where he's
Yeah,
over
he's
4. He's been injured. He's a clown. Sherman, he's a
yeah.
complete clown.
When he was at the Jays, he kind of powered us up there after we went and got Price, and he kind of became the secondary starter, and he had some success, and then yeah, so I kind of lost track of him. But yeah, okay, I was going to actually say, so I'll finish off the baseball talk with you there. You said you were talking about the NBA, and you mentioned the Donovan Mitchell situation. I guess the situation involving him in the New York Knicks, and I don't know what are the probabilities of this happening because I mean, I feel that Utah would have to get R.J. Barrett back in that deal to make that happen. But then I'm hearing that they're trying to make the deal without making that happen because you would need to have Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, and Julius Randle for a 3 core. And I think that you need to keep R.J. Barrett. But what's the latest on that front? Are you hearing differently?
That's pretty accurate what you're saying, Neil. The Knicks definitely want to keep R.J. Barrett, and the reason that they weren't talking the last few weeks because the Jazz wanted Emmanuel quickly, they wanted Obi Toppin, they wanted Quentin Grimes, and they wanted Kim Ranch, and they wanted 6 first-round draft picks. And the Knicks said no, which I agree with, because 6 first-rounders plus 4 young players, I think that's a little much.
Right.
So I think they are going to work up a deal with RJ Barrett staying in New York, which I do not think the Knicks should trade him. I think he's going to be a superstar in the next year or two, possibly.
Yeah,
I really like him. I thought the second half of the season last year, I thought he was fantastic.
absolutely.
But honestly, if Jackson said 3 first rounders, I would have probably done that trade. With with the previous offer. I just think the Knicks were so turned off. They're like, all right, this might not work. But now, I just think the Jazz want to move him. I mean, he's clearly not happy there. They already traded Gobert, which ticked them off. They figured they got so much for Gobert. If they can get even more back for Donovan Mitchell, they could set themselves probably up better off for the future than if they kept him. So they probably think it's the right move. And the Knicks probably look at their team like outside of Jalen Brunson, they haven't done much else this off season. This is a team that was like 12th on the East last year. One guy who might give you maybe 17, 18 points a game. Is that going to really get them back into even the top 8? So
Right.
I think now they're starting to like, all right, let's try to get this guy, see if we can get them to come down on the price. But I would definitely like to keep RJ. I would like to keep Obi Toppin, but I would give him up for Donovan Mitchell. Quickly, I like him as well, but I would definitely trade him for Donovan Mitchell. All the other players, Randall and Fournier and Grimes, I could care less. They can go.
Quickly?
We have quickly. I do like him, but I would trade him for Donovan Mitchell. Donovan's a much superior player, and I think
Yeah.
I
I
I
mean,
think I
how do
think
you
his
feel?
ceiling quickly at his ceiling. I do not think will reach Donovan Mitchell, even at his ceiling. So I'm fine with that. And the other young guys, I don't really care about. They're role players, but if they have first rounders to give up, they have a lot of first rounders to give up. But 6 is just that's ridiculous.
Yeah, the picks could really do that deal. But how do you feel if that does happen, and you do have that core of Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and now Donovan Mitchell?
I think if they have RJ, Donovan Mitchell, you have Jalen Brunson running the point. Hopefully,
Randall, yep.
Julius Randle with his head screwed on straight. Hopefully, if he can play a little better with Mitchell Robinson and you guys like Derrick Rose on the bench, I think
Brunson's a huge
they're
pickup too. Actually, that's when that
yes,
becomes even better. If they were to get
he's
Mitchell,
a very
it
good
makes
player.
that a bigger pickup, right? Yeah, I feel that amplifies that Brunson pickup if they were to get Donovan Mitchell, and they kind of have 4 solid guys there. if they're
Yeah,
keeping Archie
the
there.
only teams I would say, only teams I think are better than the Knicks in the East. Milwaukee might be a little better than them. I'm trying to think of the other teams in the
So one more
East.
quick note about the Knicks is that
Maybe
they
Boston. I would say they're top 4 or 5 in the East.
sure. So the Knicks also solidified their front court by bringing back Matt Robinson, and they also picked up,
Mitch
uh,
Robinson, yeah.
yeah, and they picked up Isaiah. Is it Hartenstein?
Yes, they picked him up as well. Yes.
Yes. So they have some, bigs up front, and they may be like, they should be good for a playoff spot. I would say it's probably like maybe 7 or 8 in the East right now. If that's like when
Hmm.
you face up against the rest of the competition, the Bulls have improved, Atlanta's improved, and then Toronto's solid still. I'm talking the bottom part here. And then you, as mentioned, I would say Boston's 1. Miami, I'll still put them at 2. I'll put Milwaukee at 3. I'll put Philadelphia at 4. 5, I'll put Atlanta there. 6, I'll put Toronto there. 7, I'll put Cleveland, and 8, I'll put the Knicks. I don't have the Nets in there because I don't feel that
Yeah.
situation with KD is stable. I don't even know if they keep him, that if he comes back, if he plays, or if he protests until he gets traded and sits out. And I don't know if their chemistry would be able to come together with all the disgruntledness. Like, even the Kyrie rumors are back now about possibly trading him. I thought they were settled over there and that he was cool with staying and all that. So I don't feel that the Nets and their situation are settled enough to even know where to rank them. They were playing last year, and that's highly because of the fact that KD got injured for, I think it was 6 weeks at the beginning of March, and they kind of slipped. But still, what do you think? Like, I feel like if there's all this disgruntledness and trade me or get rid of these, coaches and GMs or whatever it is that they got to do, all that, like, there's a, you know, real storm of a shit show there. It's not a good situation. So I can't rank the Nets if that's how it is right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Nets are a complete mess. They're a dumpster fire right now. They they're. I mean, yes, if Durant and Kyrie are healthy and they're playing, can they be a top 5 team in the East? Absolutely, but that's impossible. So I don't see how you can rank them higher than probably eighth or ninth. And I agree with the Knicks. I think the Knicks right now are a play-in team. I think their ceiling right now is about probably fifth or sixth, but they'll probably be a play-in team. And if they get Spida, I think they're top 4 in the East.
Yeah. What do you think about KD? You think he's going to get moved? I think it's a complicated deal to make, which is why we haven't seen it happen yet, or we may not see it happen at all.
I don't. I think he's on this roster the first game of the season. I do. I think there's so many moving parts there. They want so much. He makes so much money. He's got so many injury problems. His age, like I said, the contract, the other stuff. Him wanting to have control over the roster and him wanting. He wants this guy on the team. He wants this guy on the team. He wants this coach. He wants that coach. Doesn't want this guy.
I know, right?
That's a turn off for a lot of guys, and then you got all these players signing these max extensions. Devin Booker would have been the guy that's probably would have won. Now he's off the table. If from the Cavs, they probably would have won Darius Garland. Now he's off the table because he just signed the deal. So now it's tough. And now I'm hearing the Celtics might be a team that is going to be the ones making the trade. But now, obviously you saw Katie and Jason Tatum were, kind of practicing together, kind of, just
That
for
would be,
fun.
yeah. I would honestly
Yeah,
say that would be the most ideal destination for him to get moved to, because I don't know what his window is. I think like he's 34. He's had a lot of injuries. I don't know if they catch up with him as he gets older, but I would say he's got a 2 year, in my opinion, only 2 years of this prime type play left. And not to say that after that he becomes a shell of himself. I think he still becomes a solid player, but just in terms of having that prime kind of window. I don't even know if you call 36 in your prime still, but he's 34, and I just wonder, like, he has to go to a team that would be like on the cusp of winning a
right.
championship. It's not like he's going to go to. I mean, there's other teams that I've heard him rumored to, like Washington and Atlanta. I don't see that happening. Those kind of teams, I could see
No,
like,
definitely not.
yeah, it would have to be like a Phoenix or a Boston. I mean, there were Raptor rumors there at the beginning of all this. I think you remember, and
Yes, I thought Toronto was the favorite at one point. I think right now it's Boston. I
yeah,
just the problem is, do they want Jason Tatum? Is Boston going to move him for Durant?
I thought they had to give up Brown for that, and I would be willing to do that. But I think you ideally
Yeah,
want to
I would
keep
say.
Brown. Like to
I
win a
mean,
championship,
Tatum,
you
I
need to have
definitely
Brown.
want to keep.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's the number one player on the team, and I think that you like. Let's talk about Jason Tatum for a minute. People are not really recognizing what he's done already. He's only
He's a great
23.
player.
He's only 23, right? Am I wrong about this age? Where's he at age wise?
He's right around there. He's still very
Yeah.
young.
So and he's been in the NBA for 5 seasons. So I think he got drafted when he was like super young, and Danny Ainge made a genius move to get him. The guy's great. Jaylen Brown's great. I think you need to have KD be on the team with Jaylen Brown to be a team that's going to be like the favorite to win it. And I would probably but I don't think you're going to do that because I think Brooklyn wants him. It's a question of having Malcolm Brogdon still there for you to, maybe you could
Oh
ship
yeah,
him.
he's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pickup. I think no one's talking about that this year in the offseason as much as what we're hearing about some of the other moves. And I just think that, that could be maybe in 6 months from now, we could be saying that might be the best offseason move because I think that really will tighten up the Celtics. But if you're going to get Durant and you want to keep Brown, I would probably have to throw him in there, Brogdon, probably Robert Williams, probably, I don't know who else would go in there. I
Maybe
mean,
Grant Williams.
yeah, Grant Williams probably. I'm trying to think of players because I know that the Brooklyn Nets have said we want a win now player, and I would say to do that too. If I'm running Brooklyn, I'm going to try to get. If I'm trading Kyrie or KD, I want a player in those deals that I can still compete with. That will help me compete, right? So it can't just be all role players and draft picks. And I honestly, if the rumors with the Raptors, we were covering that myself, and I was kind of like, I didn't feel this should happen. But what you talked about, how you described how KD can be like that high maintenance type player, like fire the coach, fire the GM, or trade me, like all those kind of options.
That's ridiculous.
Exactly,
He
like
has
all
no.
those
He has.
demands.
He's a freaking player. He
Right.
can't. He has no right.
He's a
I
diva.
can't.
Yeah,
He is a
absolutely.
diva. He has no authority, dude.
I know. I agree. I'm on the same page on you with that, and I'm definitely with you on that. So I would just say though, I didn't want him coming to Toronto. I honestly don't. I feel what Toronto has right now, and I know you're really deep in all sports, and you can see what the Raptors have in terms of what they've been able to build after the championship. I think they're a solid team right now through and through, and I don't want a guy like KD here. If we're giving up to get KD, I'm not giving up Scotty Barnes. Why would I want to give up Scotty Barnes for KD? I don't know that KD's going to come here for a year and then complain about something or something rubs him the wrong
Yeah.
way and then he wants out of here. And with Scotty Barnes, the Raptors have him for at least 3 to 5, depending on how they handle his contract. And then they can sign him to an extension. But they have a longer window with a guy like Scotty Barnes, who has a ton of upside, who didn't play like a rookie at all last year, played like a
Not at
veteran all
all.
season long. Absolutely. That's, I think, what got him the award. I felt that Evan Mobley should have got it after a little while. I felt that, I talked about it several times. I felt that Barnes started off the year really hot and was in the lead with that award. Then he kind of slipped a bit, and then Mobley was consistent. And then we saw that Jared Allen went down for the Cavs, and he stepped up there, and I really thought that was going to help him get the award. And then Scotty Barnes turned it on since January and never stopped, and he's put up some serious numbers. And the guy came up as a point guard as a kid, I'm hearing, so he's got good ball handling in terms of a
Wow.
guy who's going to play small forward, right? And I feel that he could be, in like 3 to 5 years, one of the best small forwards in the NBA.
Easily, for sure. I totally
Yeah,
agree with you. I think he could be one of the best players in the league at that point.
exactly, exactly. So you feel me on that. So I wouldn't give up KD for him, but I would probably give up, and maybe somebody will laugh about this, but I would give up Gary Trent Jr. and OG Anunoby. Okay, just quickly about those two
Mm-hmm.
players. Trent averaged 18.5 points, so we'll call it 19. He averaged 1 point, I think 7 steals, so we'll call it 2. So that's 19 points, 2 steals per game coming off of last season. OG Anunoby averaged 17 points. I believe it was 6 rebounds, like 5.7, we'll call it 6. I think it was near 4 assists, 3.7, and about 2 steals almost per game. So he puts up that many numbers across the board. And then I would also throw in Precious Chua, who's still coming up. He really evolved last year, developed a 3-point
Yeah.
shot. And then I would throw in 3 first-round picks. That's all I would give up for KD, and I think that would be enough to work with for Brooklyn, considering like what else you're going to get from him. And then I feel then the Raptors would only be able to make that trade, keeping Pascal Siakam, made all 13 last year, only started playing since the end of January. And then Fred VanVleet, who made the All-Star team, was never drafted, came up through the G League, and then you got the Rookie of the Year, and you need to you need to group that up with KD to win a championship. I feel,
Yeah,
and I don't see that
I
happening. It's hard. That's
I
all hard
might
to do.
yeah, but I don't think I can't see you. I don't know how you trade Scotty Barnes. I don't think that there's anybody in the league you trade Scotty Barnes for. Siakam might have to come in that deal. I might take out like Precious Ashua. I might take him out and maybe put Siakam in the deal.
Right?
But I could see that happening. You said Trent. You said I don't know, but you said Precious
Achua and three
Ashua.
first rounders and three
I
first
I mean
rounders.
that's what I think the the asking price should be for Durant, but
Yeah.
that's not what it is. That in reality, that's not what it
That's
is.
right.
So
Yeah, that's I'm
yeah,
saying like that's all I would be offering if it was me. I'd
yeah,
be
but
offering if it's for
I'm
one
the same
player.
way.
Yeah, if it's for one player, three first rounders and those three guys, like that's all I would give up for. And that's what I'm saying is like my whole point in that is that I don't feel he's worth it. I mean, he could put a team over the top in terms of looking for a championship, and I feel that's better for Boston, better for Phoenix, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know what you got to do for those two teams to make those deals happen, but I feel that Toronto would have to give up too much, and then I don't know where that puts us in terms of winning a championship. And then we know KD, like he gets injured long term every season. He's not going to play more than 60 games, if that. That's his ceiling, and he never reaches that really. But last year it looked like he was going to, and I really wanted him to because when he got injured in 2019 in the finals against Toronto here in Toronto, I was worried that maybe he won't be the same player again. He came back from that. It took him 2 years, but he came back, was at the same level of play. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Like I feel like that level of play, he could keep that going till 36. So I feel that's my honest opinion. So I feel like he'll still be great after that, but like I don't know if we would have said that about LeBron at 37, and we've seen how LeBron is playing at 37. He almost led the league in scoring last year. I think that LeBron is a better player than KD, but KD is absolutely great as well. I've never seen a better
Absolutely.
shooting. I've never seen a better shooter at 7 foot in my entire life, other than
Yeah.
KD. I think he's the greatest that tall and shooting. So yeah, he puts a team over the top. I mean, if it's Phoenix, I would have had to have given up DeAndre Ayton to get him. And I think they signed him back, so it looks like they're content with what they have to work with.
Yeah, and now
You,
that and then now they can't even move Aiden
right?
until
Exactly.
until like play till like mid season or something.
Yeah, so I don't see a KD deal really happening. I mean, a good place for him to go to would be like Dallas. I mean,
Ooh,
Luca and KD, and I guess you have to keep
oh
Christian Wood.
my.
you know, I mean, how do you feel about Dallas? I know they went out and got Christian Wood, and I was happy about that. I was like, okay, they address that situation right away. They need a big man if he can stay healthy, and I felt they needed to do a little bit more, but they haven't really done anything since. And what do you think about Dallas's chances next year? Are they there in the Western Conference
Um,
Finals?
I think they'll be a good team, kind of right around when they were last year. I really like them getting Christian Wood. That was a good fit. He's a big man
Yep.
that can score. They really needed that. But you also lose your point guard and Jalen Brunson. I don't really know who's playing point guard for the Mavericks next year. I mean, obviously when you got Luka, you got a chance, and he's a top five player in the game probably. And you got Tim Hardaway Jr., who's a really good shooter. Now Wood's a score, Wood is a scoring big man. I guess Spencer Dinwiddie's probably your point guard, and he's a really good scorer. I like him. You have a couple other good players. Maxi Kleber's okay, but I think they could have made one more impact move. They'll be probably top five ish in the West, but I don't still think they're a championship team yet.
Nice. Okay, I got to ask you now about football. Do you play fantasy football?
Yes, I do. I am in the league with armchair host.
Nice. If there's a spot, let me know. I'll get in. I was going to say, so let's talk about football drafting for the fantasy season this upcoming year. I did 2 drafts last night, early in the morning,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking, I'm not going to lie to you. I know a lot of us usually wait till our third or fourth pick to get a quarterback, but I might jump up there at number 2 and try to get Josh Allen then because I feel all eyes are going to be on him this year. I think he's going to really take a huge step and a leap forward. Talk to me about where you're drafting your quarterback in your draft, who you're aiming for. How high do you see Josh Allen going? What do you think about him this season? I think you probably agree. I think a lot of people are talking about him already.
I will say Josh Allen's probably the number one quarterback in the fantasy football because he's got such a huge arm. He's got some really good weapons. He's got Stephon Diggs, and Gabriel Davis. Got Dawson Knox. He's got some, James Cook. I think will catch some passes for them. and he can run a lot. Running quarterbacks in fantasy football are gold because, like, obviously for passing yards, you only get it takes you 25 yards to get a point for passing yards as opposed to 10, and passing touchdowns are only 4. But for rushing yards, 10 yards is a point. It doesn't matter if they're a
Right,
quarterback. So if they're getting 50 yards passing, it's only about 2 points. But 50 yards rushing for a quarterback, that's 5 points.
right,
And,
right,
and of
right,
course the touchdowns are 6 opposed to 4. So
right.
that's very big. As for quarterback, where I would draft, if he's available in the 4th round, I would definitely consider him. Depends on what my team's looking like. But I am very comfortable. I am very comfortable with waiting until the 6th or 7th round to get a quarterback.
Until which round?
Probably round 6 or 7.
Oh wow. Okay, great. Good to know. So, what are you looking for in your first several picks? Are you trying to get 2 running backs or a wide receiver? You go run back, wide receiver, or which way are you going? What are you looking for? Does it depend on who's the best player, or are you trying to go with the best position player in your top picks?
Well, I definitely want to stack up on running back and receivers. My first 4 or 5 picks.
Right.
Uh, like I would say, a perfect draft would be my first 4 pick. I get four. I get 2 really good running backs, 2 really good receivers. I get a good tight end in round 5 or 6. Round 6-ish, I get a real good quarterback. Maybe maybe I pick up in the round between rounds 5 and 7. Maybe I pick up another back receiver who could be really good, and then from there, I just want to get as many high upside guys on my bench as I can, so I have as much depth as possible. And you always save kicker and defense for the last 2 picks.
Nice, nice. Okay, so I'm in a 10-team league. I'm
Mm-hmm.
presuming I'm going to have the ninth pick because I went to the finals last year. I finished second. It's because I lost Fournette and Debo, and that's
Ooh.
probably why I lost if I didn't lose those 2 guys. And then Josh Allen had a big game in the first week of the playoffs. So I was like, why can't you have that game in the final week? He scored 5 touchdowns, I recall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just felt that like I've been seeing some of the fantasy drafts. Like I said, I've only done 2 so far mock drafts, and people are nabbing them up like with their second and third picks, even in 10-team leagues. Like, so I don't know. I'm like I just know I had them last year, and I did take them with a third pick. I'm not gonna lie, and I ended up having a serious team, right? So I might try that. What teams? How many teams do you have in your league? Are you playing with 10 or 12 or 14? I know 14 is kind of seriously extreme. 12 is even deep too, right?
I'm doing a couple. The color cast one I believe has 14.
Right, that's
I'm
deep.
doing I'm doing one. I'm doing one. I help run the sports media club at my school. I'm the vice president of that organization. I'm setting up a league. I set it for 14 teams because I don't actually know like the freshmen that are moving in to campus and are going to join the club. I'm the vice president.
Right,
The president of the club. She handles all that.
right.
Shout out to Molly Jacobs. She's not on the app, but she does a fantastic job. She actually works for the Yankees as well, and is a full time student. So
Nice.
shout
Well,
out to
that's
her.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, she handles all that. So I don't actually know who the freshmen are, and I don't know exactly how many members are in the group. Like I said, she handles all that. So I set it for 14. I may move that number down to maybe 10 or 12. But I'm kind of hoping it ends up being that. Right now, there's like 7 teams in. I set
Right.
the draft for September
Fourth?
6th.
Oh, okay. I got
I
mine on
set
the fourth. Right.
the color cast one is the 4th. I set my other one. I set it up for the 6th because obviously everyone's moving in
Right.
next weekend, so I want to get them. So we got to get a little time to get settled.
Nice.
So
Who
so
do I
we'll
talk to get into the ColorCast one, or is it full?
that's it might be fall, but if there is an extra spot, it would be armchair.
Oh, Armchair would get in? Okay, okay. Let me know if there's a spot other than that. I didn't even realize there was one. There's everybody's in that one. I take it. Good. Well, 14
There's
people. That's a lot of people. Yeah, absolutely.
I know I'm in it. Pat Rush is in it. Obviously armchair. Zach's in it.
Nice.
I'm not sure who else is in it. I believe Walmart is in it.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you who else. Maybe who's Walmart's friend, AJ, whatever his name is.
Nice. Who's running? Is it at Walmart?
I believe it's armchair. I believe it's armchair.
Armchair, nice. All right, cool, cool. That's all right. I mean, I totally would have got in, but it looks like it's full. That sounds awesome. But we'll be on here chatting a lot of football fantasy stuff. I'll leave it
Yeah.
there. I gotta get going. But thanks for having me on. Thanks for also updating me on Marcus Stroman.
no, no problem. No problem. He's very irrelevant. He's very irrelevant.
That's why I just totally didn't even
he's
realize
easy
what
to
was going on
forget.
with
He's
him.
very easy to forget
He's
about. He's
falling off the
irrelevant.
radar now. Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, great work as always.
Thank
Love
you.
jumping on your cast as always, Jake. Keep it real. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
All right, Neil. And just before you go, the fantasy football thing is going to be probably some sort of like pre-show, like for a couple hours before. It might be on Twitter Spaces. It's going to be on Twitter Spaces.
Okay.
I'm gonna be part of that. I'm gonna talk about just different strategies, different players I like, different players I don't like. So
Do you have me on Twitter?
you can uh yes I do have a Twitter. You want to find me? Go
Okay.
ahead. I can shoot you a message on
Yeah, can you follow me? It's the exact same handle that
yeah.
you have here on the
Okay,
screen
yeah.
at Neil Shanil. If you do that, that's actually my media account. So at the very least, for what I'm doing right now, I only use it for like media purposes, for working purposes. I don't use it socially.
Right.
So I mean, I don't have a problem going on Twitter Spaces, but I may actually just what I'm doing is I've had so many people from Colorcast add me on there already, so I'll just have people continue to add me on there. But I may start up a separate account just for the Colorcast like
Okay.
community. So, and when that happens, then at least I have everybody's contacts. I can just add them back on that other account. But I just want to basically get everybody's contacts from there on this account that I have existing, and then
hmm
eventually I will do that once I get more active with the Twitter Spaces. I've been on a few already, and so yeah, I would definitely check that out. That is a pregame show, you were saying?
Yeah, it's probably going to be. I don't know all the details yet because one, I've never used Squarespace before,
Yeah,
so that's
it's
going to be
very
fun to figure
simple.
out.
Yeah, it's
And
the
two,
same thing. It,
I might actually push it to armchair and be like, "Yo, what? How's this working?" I think it'll be probably for the first couple hours before. I don't know if it'll be 2 hours, 6 hours, whatever. The whole day. I don't know what it'll be. Depends how many people are going to do it. But I'll get more information, and I could always pass it on to you.
sure,
Once I
sure.
get it,
So
I can
yeah, I
I
think
can write you on Discord and stuff. But yeah,
sure.
that
Yeah,
is
that'd
the
be great.
plan.
And I think that you'll enjoy Twitter Space. I think the quality of sound is a lot better. And I've been on there. I haven't actually
Okay.
hosted anything yet, but I mean that's what I will start another account when I start hosting it, so that way I can don't have to like I just want to kind of keep it separate from my media stuff because it wouldn't be a professional thing doing that with as on here I don't represent who I work for. I just basically I'm independent, so I would
Mm,
do it for that same reason on Twitter with another account specifically. But yeah, I haven't done any hosting yet of a Twitter space, but I've been on several of them, and the quality of it's much better. There's a lot more people listening on there that would join in, and it's kind of like the only defect that like everyone's continuing on. Like I'm still continuing on with Colorcast and Pat Rush is, and I know
right.
you are doing your thing on here. So I would encourage everybody to continue just cross-platforming their shows, and that's kind of what's happening right now. And so yeah, it'd be great to see you on there too. Just add me up. I got the same handle. Also, do me a favor if a spot opens up in that fantasy league. Let them know that I'm interested, and I would get in definitely. There's what I think 3 weeks before the draft day. I think if you count this weekend, count today. I think. Am I right? Yeah, we're the
Yeah.
21st today. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, let me know if anything pops up on that front. Always great casting with you. You're very knowledgeable, and I always have great conversations with you.
Thank
I'll
you.
catch you again the next time you're casting. And yeah, let me know about the Twitter Spaces. Send me your. I think you might have me. I'm not 100% sure because I had a storm of people adding me from Colorcast, so I think maybe we might already be connected on Twitter. But if you could just double check with the handle that you see on the screen at Neil Shanil, and then make sure that we're connected so that we can definitely do the Twitter Space thing.
Definitely for sure. Thanks again, Neil. I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Jake, have a great day, and thanks for the cast.
Of course, that's Neil Shanil. Comes to my show all the time. We always have great conversations, and I basically just marketed something I'm doing in a little bit with fantasy football. I got a draft coming up, so I'm gonna do some sort of like fantasy football style show. Probably around September 5th. It'll probably be on that date. I'll give you guys more information when I have it. Sometime this upcoming week, I'm gonna do just an NFL preview. I'll announce some schedule changes that are coming to my show in a little bit. We are in the home stretch, but we still have a couple things to cover, including some WWE, Monday Night Raw. We had Drew McIntyre had a very fiery promo with Kevin Owens. They ended up with a match, and McIntyre won by disqualification after the Usos attacked him. But then he was able to fend them off and told them that he's gonna come see Roman Reigns on SmackDown. I'm not gonna go over what happened on SmackDown because I haven't watched it yet. So those of you who watched it, I'm sure know what happened. Don't spoil it. I plan to watch that hopefully sometime tonight. Yeah, the Judgment Day they beat up Rey Mysterio. Damian Priest challenge Edge. So next week I think they're gonna have a match. Alexa Bliss and Asuka they beat Nikki Ash and Doudrop to advance in the women's tag team title tournament. We had they'll face. They are going to face Io Sky and Dakota Kai in the next round. The Miz and Ciampa won a tag team match over Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. I don't know why Mustafa Ali is still in WWE. He's not good. He doesn't even want to be there. Just let him go at this point. And he had a Riddle attack Seth Rollins. He got some payback. That was a big brawl. He had Veer Mahan beat Bo Keller in basically a squash match. Bobby Lashley defended his United States Championship against AJ Styles, but Dexter Lumis made an appearance in the stands. They thought he was a fan, so they escorted him out of there. The security did, but we saw him. And Theory defeated Dolph Ziggler in a one-on-one match. So it wasn't too exciting this Raw, but that's what happened on Raw. I want to just mention that maybe the top guy of the UFC. I don't talk about like UFC MMA too much, but there was some big news last night. Kamaru Usman lost to Leon Edwards, so he loses his belt to Leon Edwards. He had won 15 straight fights. He was winning the fight. If it was late in the fight, if it went to a decision, he would have definitely won. But Leon Edwards knocked him out for a kick to the face to beat him in a huge upset. That was a great, what's known as a crosshead kick. So big news in UFC and some boxing news. That guy Usyk, I don't even know his first name. It's some full name. I don't want to even try to pronounce his last name is Usyk. He beat Anthony Joshua again to retain his titles. So that's what we got for boxing and UFC. I'll talk about it a lot, but there was some major news that happened in the last couple of days. As for college football, I'm going to go over the top 25 for this season. Got the college football season starting in about a week, and then I'll announce some schedule changes, and then I'll wrap up. We got Alabama. They were ranked number 1 heading into the year. Ohio State's number 2. Ohio State's going to probably have the best offense in the country. They got C.J. Stroud, who might be a top pick next year. They got one of the best receiving corps in the world, including you have the one kid who had the 300-yard game late last season. You got Georgia at 3. Of course, the defending champs did lose a lot of pieces, especially on that defense, which is probably one of the best defenses ever in college football history. But they are still a great team. Still got the young quarterback there, Stetson Bennett. So they'll be there. Clemson's ranked number 4. Had a bit of a down year last year, but still had 10 wins. I think now of DJ Ukulele, their young quarterback. Another year under his belt. The guys they have, they brought in a bunch of guys in their recruiting class. I think they'll be even better. Notre Dame is ranked number 5. Of course, they have a new coach after Brian Kelly left for LSU. Texas A&M is ranked 6. Texas A&M is an interesting team because they made a quarterback change. So let's see where they go. Utah's ranked 7th. Michigan's ranked 8th. Michigan was top 3, I believe, last year. Lost a bunch of guys. We'll see how well they do this year. Oklahoma is ranked 9th. They also made some changes. They lost their head coach, Lincoln Riley. I do believe they brought in a pretty good coach, though, and they lost their quarterback, Caleb Williams, who followed them in the transfer portal. They did bring in a good quarterback, I think, from USC. His name is Dylan Ramsey or something. He's supposed to be very good. So we'll see how they do. Baylor is ranked 10th. Oregon is ranked number 11. Oklahoma State is 12th. North Carolina State's 13th. USC is ranked 14th. And they got a new coach in Lincoln Riley, definitely much better than Clay Helton, and they bring in a talented young quarterback in Caleb Williams. USC could be looking at a special year. Michigan State is ranked number 15. Miami is ranked number 16. They just brought in the former Oregon coach, Mario Cristobal, so they finally looks like they have a good coach. They've been circling through coaches for years, it seems like. Pitt is actually ranked 17th. Wisconsin is ranked number 18. Arkansas is ranked 19th. Kentucky is ranked number 20. Ole Miss is 21st. See how they do. They lost their quarterback to the draft, Matt Corral. See how they do. 22nd is Wake Forest, an ACC team. 23rd, Cincinnati was top 4 last year. Was actually undefeated, but they lose their quarterback, Desmond Ridder, to the draft. Now on the Atlanta Falcons. Number 24 is Houston, and number 25 rounding out the top 25 is BYU. Those are the college football rankings. This is actually the last weekly recap. My summer job is over. So Monday through Thursday, I should be here. Definitely going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to do some sort of NFL preview sometime this week. I'm thinking Tuesday or Wednesday. I will have that finalized tomorrow, so that you'll get that official news tomorrow. So I plan to do my show Monday through Thursday this week. Once I start school, I'll have to figure that out, but I'm hoping to announce that officially sometime Wednesday or Thursday. I'll get that to you guys once I know all the information. I'm planning to do a fantasy football thing probably September 4th. If that looks like the date it's going to be, I will confirm that once I have all the information about that as well. But until tomorrow, so long and have a great day.